You enjoy podcasts. We know because you're listening to one. Hi, I'm Jason Falls, the executive producer of the Marketing Podcast Network. We love podcasts too, so much so that in addition to providing you with the great episode you're listening to, we also help businesses, brands, and even individuals produce their podcasts. MPN Studios offers podcast consulting and production services to help you get you or your business its very own podcast. We've helped dozens of smart people, advertising agencies, and brands develop podcasts. All you do is record your content or interview. We take that and deliver a professionally produced audio or video episode complete with show notes, transcriptions, and even promotional clips to use on social media. And our monthly subscription prices are hard to beat. If you or your company are jonesing to have your own podcast to establish thought leadership, drive business leads, or just have fun talking about your business or topic of choice, we'd love to help. Learn more at marketingpodcasts.net/studio. That's marketingpodcasts.net/studio.
Hey, have you heard about Podcast On? This is a global podcast charity event where hosts dedicate one episode to a nonprofit they care about and release it together the same week. No fundraising, no fees, just powerful storytelling for good. Podcast On 2026 runs March 14th to March 20th. Join thousands of podcasters worldwide and use your voice for impact. It's free, it's simple, and it starts at podcasthon.org.
The Marketing Podcast Network is a proud partner of Podcast On.
Welcome to Your Radiant Spirit, a space for the conversations and colors that help you see yourself more clearly. I'm Heather Eck, an intuitive artist and guide, and I believe your soul speaks in the ways the mind can't always put into words, through color, energy, and the stories your body holds. This show is where we explore those messages. Through personal stories, deep conversations, and creative insight, we'll uncover what's been hidden, release what no longer serves, and begin to imagine what's possible when you live in full alignment with who you're meant to be. What you hear here is more than inspiration, it's an opening, a chance to feel the shift that could change everything. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and let's step into today's conversation. Welcome back to Your Radiant Spirit. I'm your host, Heather Eck, and today I'm very excited to introduce to you Beth Hess. She's a messaging strategist known as the Word Girl. She helps already amazing brands find the right words to clearly express who they are and what they do so they can attract the right clients, build trust, and stay consistent across every part of the business. With a background in journalism, buyer psychology, and strategic marketing, Beth specializes in uncovering the message that's already there, then refining it so it feels natural, powerful, and true. She doesn't write from scratch or push formulas. She listens deeply, asks the right questions, and helps founders and teams unlock language that actually works. At the core of everything she does, a simple truth. When you own your amazingness, your message becomes magnetic. Beth, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be with you.
Me too. So just to share a little background, you and I met at the Holly Springs launch alumni, no, it wasn't alumni yet. It was the mentor mixer.
That's the 3-minute window that we got.
It was our speed dating. But I actually remember meeting you, and I think I had you in my top list of potential mentors because I think you were even wearing a shirt that said Word Girl on it. And I remembered that. Can you tell us the story behind your name and how you got to that?
Yeah, sure. So I've always just people have referred to me as the Word Girl. My background is in journalism, and so I worked in publishing for a long time. But then even when I was working in other industries, when somebody was like, oh, I need to send this email, I need somebody to review it, or how are we going to say this? People would just kind of say, oh, well, let's ask Beth. She's the Word Girl. And so that just kind of stuck with me. And then I forgot about it for a while when I started my own business 5 years ago now, when I became an entrepreneur and became a messaging strategist and specialist. And of course, one of the things that I was always telling my own clients is find a way to be memorable and connect with the people that you most want to have conversations with. And somehow then Word Girl reemerged for me. And I was like, well, that's probably a persona that I just need to to take on. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and in a situation like, the speed networking that we did, but in networking in general, or even just presenting myself on social media, something like I'm wearing a Word Girl t-shirt just shortcuts that process of having to explain to people what you do. It's definitely a good conversation starter.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. I think it's so important because, and you probably maybe didn't struggle with this as much as myself and some other business owners or entrepreneurs struggle to find the right words about what they do. In your view, what makes a message, or like, I'm going to use the words elevator pitch, even though sometimes that gives me the heebie jeebies sometimes. What makes a message magnetic? What is it that makes your message so magnetic?
Yeah. So, well, I ultimately call it a process of finding and then owning your amazingness. So, you
I
mentioned in
love
my
that.
bio that phrase, own your amazingness. And to me, your amazingness is the combination of everything that has brought you to the point that you are. I work with a lot of where a singular person kind of is the brand. It's hard to decipher between the person and the brand at
Mm,
some point. But this is true whether you're a brand or not. All of us as human beings have unique signature, our own blueprint, our specific amazingness. And that's a
mhm,
mix of the innate gifts that we have, the skills we were born with, the beliefs and values that we have, the skills that we then have curated and collected, or the experiences, the schooling, education, certifications, like all of that just becomes this beautiful, unique mix of your flavor of amazingness in the world.
mhm,
And when you know what that is for yourself, and then you can communicate that to other people, sometimes in words, but often just in the energy of who you are, how people feel when they're around you. All of those things together is what makes you magnetic.
mm,
And
uh,
I mean, I'm sure we've all had that experience. I can think of one woman right off the top of my head where she was the wife of my husband's boss when we lived in Arizona. I had never met her before. I didn't know anything about her. But within like a minute and a half of being in the room with this woman, you're just like, there is something that I really enjoy about being around her.
mm,
And what I now know, 20 something years later, is that she was just being herself. And we hear that
mm,
a lot, right? Like, be authentic, just be real, just be yourself. But it takes a lot of excavation and shedding of all the stuff that we layer on top of ourselves of what we think we're supposed to be.
uh-huh.
It takes a lot of scraping all that off to get to the heart of where we really are and being able to speak and to live from that place. And again, not just in a business context, but just as a human being.
Yeah, just people being people. That's making me think so much too about, the fact that we all come here with gifts and with, spiritual gifts and wisdom and tools that we can use to help each other and to be of service in the world. And so much of our lives, I think we spend, like you said, like doing the things that we think we're supposed to be doing, but not necessarily what we want to be doing. And I like that you can help people sort of uncover what's already there and learn how to communicate what our offerings are or what our gifts are and how we can bring that amazingness out into the world. That's really powerful.
Yeah, for sure. And you kind of touched on earlier this, like, why is that so hard for us to get to?
Yeah.
One of that is because we do layer on other people's expectations and all of that. But I think it's even more deeply than that. It's hard to express because it's all we know.
Yeah.
And most of it comes naturally and easily. And especially in Western cultures, we have such a narrative of you have to work hard in order for something to be valuable,
Mhm.
that we often overlook the things that come naturally and easily and that were gifted to us when we came to this planet
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
the things that make us special. And we feel like we have to go manufacture different things. And so 90% of the time, and I'm not good at math, that's just a number I made up. But 90, we're going to go 90% of the time, the thing that I talk with people and my clients the most about is when I have to say, well, why aren't you talking about that? Why aren't you saying more about this gift that you've had, or the things that come easily to you, or the places you didn't have to take a 90-hour certification course? Like,
Yeah.
what just what is just you? Those are the things that you should be talking about. And most of the time people are like, well, but why do people want to know that? Because it's hard for us to remember that the things that come easily to us typically don't come easily to other people.
Mhm.
And that is and my belief that that is a design on purpose so that we will need each other as human beings, can find others who are skilled in places that we aren't. But I just find that we do not value like we should the stuff that is just who we are and what comes naturally to us.
I could not agree more. And you're making me think of so many different examples of that. The one that I point to the most often is from my spiritual teacher, who says that our gifts show up when we're young. They're the things that we're naturally drawn to, that we have this innate curiosity about, and that we sort of gravitate to or just have a gift in, that are the things that we're meant to do. And if you are feeling stuck or blocked about what you're supposed to be doing, a lot of times you can look back at your childhood. This is for me as well. Look back at my childhood and go, oh, I was always very curious about art, about music, about writing. There was so much creative expression around me as a child that then I sort of pushed away because it came easily to me and went in favor of the, like you said, 90 plus certifications in a completely opposite direction because I didn't think it was possible. And I think so many of us have these special innate abilities that we sort of think are, I don't want to say take for granted, but in some ways we do because we just kind of go, well, that's just easy for me. So
Yeah,
you don't
I,
think
I
about
think
it.
I think that for a long time too, that there's been this push towards humans being well-rounded individuals, right?
Yep.
So there's this idea that, okay, great, well, you're good at that, so you better go really work on the things you're not as good at. And I absolutely love the quote or concept, and I don't know who it comes from, but it's that, you know, if you have a child who is good at math and bad at baseball, hire the math tutor, not the baseball coach.
Yeah.
Why do we not give people more opportunities to do the things they're innately good at and instead ask them to get better at the things they're not?
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. I was just talking to a friend of mine who's a career coach, and she said the exact same thing. She said it used to be in an office, you would do your performance review and you'd be like, you're very good at project management, but you're really challenged in this area. So for the next year, we're going to focus on giving you opportunities to improve in this area instead of capitalizing on the ones you're really good at. And she said that that's one of the things that burns people out and makes them feel crazy because they're swimming upstream, you know?
Wow, that makes me so happy to hear that there's a part of that world that is looking at people differently.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this. So when you've been working with clients, have you noticed or do you have examples you can share about shifts that you've noticed once they feel like their messaging is aligned? Have you noticed any changes in how they show up or the work that they put out there?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And for me, it's very much about connecting the dots and helping people see patterns
Love that.
in themselves. Okay. So, for example, you mentioned earlier that question of like, well, what did I enjoy doing when I was young? When I talk with a client, typically clients come to me for things like they need to update their website copy, or they are offering a new program and they want to make sure they can get the messaging right on their
Mm-hmm.
sales page, or they're just really struggling to attract new customers and they keep getting the wrong customers, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
things like that is what people tend to come to me for. And I often will, before I even ask them about the business that they're in now, I ask to see their resume, or I go onto LinkedIn and I see if I can see like their entire work history, because I love asking people, well, what did you do before you did this?
Mm.
And what did you do before that? And what did you do before that? Because when people say, well, I was a teacher before, oh my gosh, well, that gives me a whole new perspective on how you might be approaching what you're working on now. You probably come from that teaching sort of framework and the let me help you understand kind of thing, or people were nurses, or like, I want to hear everything you've ever cared about, to be honest with you, because the aha moment usually comes when I can say to somebody, do you realize that what made you a successful teacher is also what's going to make you a successful this? Or what
Mm.
made you hate this industry is why you're banging your head about having to market yourself this way, because it's the same thing. So, for example, I was working with a business coach, and there's a lot of coaches out there, right?
Mhm.
And so when we deal with this, like, okay, what's going to make me different than anybody else? Yeah, we talk through the, okay, tell me which program is, how you work with your clients, that kind of stuff. And then I was like, what else are you working on in your life? And he starts to tell me about he's renovating an RV, and he loves taking these old RVs and then turning them into new stuff and whatever. And then somehow I find out that he loves race cars and is really into racing and all this type of thing. And we were able to build these metaphors within his business that really clicked for him what he was trying to do for his clients. So when I learned that he was really into racing, I was like, okay, so who are you on their race team? If they're the driver, who are you? Are you up on the wall? Are you looking? Are you the pit crew? Are you the right? Like,
Yeah.
we just had those kinds of conversations because it was a language that he understood, and it helped detach the brain from the like, this is business stuff and I have to get it.
Right.
And as he talked about that, and then I said, wait a minute, what is it about renovating this RV? And he's like, well, I see so much potential in what these things could be. And I don't want them to just sit over there and be wasted. And I was like, is that how you feel about the clients that you coach? Can you see the potential in them and you're don't want them to waste that, and so you want to be able to help them renovate and be more useful? And he was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right? So
Huh.
it's those types of things that when then you can say, oh, this is why I love this thing, this is why, out of all the possible ways that I could be trying to make money on this planet, this is the one I have picked.
Mhm.
And this is why. And when you can find some of that reason, and then you talk about your business from that direction, like, you all of a sudden realize that it just feels weird to then go from this, like, what I really believe is that my clients have a lot of potential, and I don't know if they can see it, but I can see it. So I want to help them see the steps and walk with them and help renovate their RV together kind of thing. then when you step into writing content for social media, like your gut immediately knows when you're not being true to that message and when you are. Does that make
Mm.
sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes total sense. It's also clicking for me about something even in my own work that's hard to describe, which is, I talk about a spirit portrait being like a piece of art that offers you healing, that there's a map towards healing. But I think what you just hit on is that I can see the potential for healing in someone. And that just flicked on a light bulb for me. Oh, yeah, that's why I really love this. It
Yeah.
does produce a big shift when you can sort of identify a word or words that feel both logical and intuitive, and
Mm,
they sort of go hand in hand. And that's sort of, I think, where your magic comes in too, because you have this very logical background in journalism that I would imagine sticks very much to like the facts of things
yes.
and investigating and sussing things out. And but then I also think words and writing is so intuitive and it's like a spiritual act, and you're sort of blending those two things when you're helping somebody craft their message.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think, and the fact that I have a journalism background is one of the things that I've really leaned into in my own story and what makes me different. It's part of my amazingness. It's what I bring to message strategy, what I bring to marketing, what I bring to copywriting that not everyone else is going to have, right?
Mhm.
My secret sauce. And one of those things is one, I'm not afraid to ask questions, right? Like
Which I love.
I will ask lots of questions. Two, I can get to the answer pretty quickly because I worked on deadlines where you're sitting in the meeting that starts at 7, your deadline's at 8. They may not talk about the thing that you need them to talk about until 7:45. Just learn how to get to the point really fast. Let's just say that. But I've more recently realized that one of the things that my words from a journalist perspective means to my work now is that we aren't manufacturing something that isn't there.
Mm.
We are telling stories that come from a basis of truth.
Mhm.
So we have to go back to the who am I? What is really happening here? And message from that grounded space of this is the truth of who I am. I am not interested in working with clients who will just say whatever they have to say to make a sale,
Yep.
right?
Mm.
I often say that all of my clients change the world because, in some way or another, the heart of everybody that I work with is, and then when enough of that happens, we change the world.
Yeah. Mhm.
Or when I change that for the one person, I have changed the world type of idea as well, right?
Yeah.
And so when we are the kind of people who come from that place where we want to make impact, we want people to find themselves, we want to be part of more self-awareness type of thing, then we can't just be out there just making stuff up, right? Like
Yeah.
you have to start from a grounded truth and some principles of well, this is the way the human brain works, right? Like there's some fact kind of stuff. And then but you're right, it's an equally fun balance then of, but where's the mystery and the magic in all of this as well? Because humans are incredibly interesting and creative beings.
Yeah. I love all of that. And I think especially for entrepreneurs and people in business who we do get so hung up on what does the website say and what do my emails say? And we're all sort of trying to hone in on this specific message. What I like about the work that you do is that you help people uncover the authentic, true, powerful message that's already within them. I have been very fortunate to have attended one of your message therapy sessions, and you asked some really powerful questions about my work and helped me hone in on a couple of key specific words that I really try to go back to when I get stuck on something because it sort of tethered me to or anchored me to the truth of my art and my offerings. And those things then inform the messaging of my website and my emails and all of that stuff. And I also feel like the term message therapy feels really good too because your questions were really thought provoking. And I think as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a solopreneur, we reflect the energy of our business. And because most of the time we are the one who is running the show and wearing all the hats, if we are not being authentic or true in something related to how we're showing up or how we're offering our services or showing up for even customer support, then it's not going to work. And we have to always stick true to that. So, how do you help somebody sort of gently arrive at their truth? And are there certain trends or things that you notice in the people that you work with that you can speak about and give us some tips for how to start to unlock some of the things that we already know are inside of us?
Yeah, for sure. So I know that self-awareness is a big personal value for me and
Hmm.
self-exploration, which means that I value that not just for myself and learning for myself, but I recognize that there is so much more power when people make their own aha moments when I just hand them some copy that was written for them, right?
Right.
And that's why my process is so conversation based. Yes, we will ultimately get to some great content and your website will feel more like you and all of those things. But there's so much power just in that process of the discovery and the questions that you ask yourself in that and the things that you pause and think about. That's my favorite part of that. And that's message therapy. I have so much fun with that and I enjoy doing it, whether I meet with a client for just one message therapy session or I have some who meet with me fairly regularly.
Uh-huh.
But one of the things that we really do in that process, and one of the things that I would recommend that people do to start looking at some of their own content or their messaging and what they put out there about themselves. Because the number one piece of advice that I give clients most often is put more you in it. Put more you in it. And I think, that's one of those messages that we were taught at some point that when we talk about business stuff, it has to be more formal, it has to be more professional, and don't talk about yourself too much. And you only worry about your customer. Your customer doesn't care about you, they only care about themselves. And we get all of these things that prevent us from putting ourselves out there. So, one of the ways to look at that is try to be as objective as possible, look at your own content, and ask yourself the question, could anyone else in my industry say this exact same thing?
Mm.
So whatever your offerings are, is this basically the same thing that everybody else is selling? So, and that usually shows up as focusing on the list of services that I provide, right? My
Mm.
menu of services. And let's just say I'm, a dentist. So, yes, I'm going to do teeth cleaning and teeth whitening and cavity stuff and root canals. There's certain things that every dental office provides.
Right.
So, how do we pick our dentist then? You and I, as humans, want something more to go on. Unless, unless we're looking for emergency dental service and it's just we need the first person who answers the phone, right? Like that's a different
Right.
that's a
Different ballgame.
think. So I guess that would be tip two is remember to think like your customers. How do you shop for things? How do you make buying decisions? What do you want to know about the brands and the professionals that you are going to align yourself with?
Mm-hmm.
And so, maybe it's I know a dental office near me that specializes in pediatrics and they have an entire horse theme. And so you can ride, it's not a real pony, but they have like a little pony in the entryway and they have the whole thing set up like this big racetrack. And it's all designed for kids to feel like it's fun to go to the dentist. Okay.
Right.
So that's something that not every other dentist can say. So if on the homepage of your website, you're just listing the things that you do and what you do is the same as what everybody else in your industry does, there's not enough you in your messaging.
Okay, got it. I love that question. That's so powerful too, because it makes you really think about whether or not your own individual mark is out there, or if you're simply trying to cookie cutter or fit yourself into a box that everybody else is already sitting in. And I think I even said this to you when we were working together. I'm like, it's hard to put what we do sometimes on a business card. That's hard to do. But you're not, I guess the other thing too that's so interesting about all of this is that you're not saying that we have to get it all on there. That if we're really just showing up as ourselves and putting more of ourselves into the work, that's when we really do start to own our own amazingness, like you said, and then people learn to like you and they trust you and then they start to reach out to you for your own special offer, the thing that makes you truly you.
Absolutely. And so, when you're looking at your content, I kind of call it the is it true enough? I feel like that's where most of my clients come to me where they're like, I've got the website, I wrote it a couple years ago. It's still true. Those are the things that I do. Like I haven't made a major pivot or anything, but it just doesn't feel true enough
Mm,
more, right? Something just still isn't hitting. And I like to ask if your website content was put in front of your actual clients, would they be able to identify that as you if it didn't have your logo on it? They'd be
right.
like, oh no, that sounds like Heather. That is the way Heather would describe that process, kind of thing. Or that's a phrase I've heard her say before. And so, this idea of having to sterilize our amazingness to put it in a professional box is done. We're done with that.
Yeah.
And in some ways, we can thank the TikTok to show up without your makeup trend or the all the other places that people are like, no, we want to see real human beings. We don't want to see fake stuff. And so that's true. So, 5 years ago when it was like, oh, no, go find some stock images and design a website that looks really professional because people need to know that you're a professional human being. And I used to joke, so they won't think that you're just sitting in your basement. But now we're all just sitting in our basements and we accept that as professional now, right?
That's so true. Yeah, that's so funny.
And so, yeah, so now we look at those websites, and when I say we, I mean we as customers, we as humans trying to make buying decisions about the brands that we want to do stuff with. Now we look at sites like that and we're like, that's really sterile and generic, and I don't know anything about you. Why would I want to give you a call? And so it's such an interesting shift, at least to me, as someone who pays attention to a lot of marketing and the way brands work.
Yeah, for sure. And you just made me think of something. You were telling me about a program that you did when you said you're somebody who notices. It made me think of or you pay attention. It made me think of your program, The Art of Noticing.
Yeah, so that was one of the aha moments for myself, when I really started to dig in for myself and say, well, what makes me good at at what I now have to establish a brand identity. One of the things that I realized is that I've always had a lot of curiosity, and I've always been a noticer. And I'm sure those are the things that that led me to journalism in the first place, but then that also made me good at journalism. I taught this class at the Cape Fear Botanical Garden in Fayetteville. If you are anywhere in North Carolina, I will say it's worth the drive over if you've never been to Cape Fear Botanical Garden. But we did a class called The Art of Noticing. And it was sort of labeled as a nature journaling project. But essentially, what we did is it was a group of about 10 of us. And I gave everybody a little bookmark of like, when I just kind of wander in spaces, these are the things that I realized I'm kind of looking for. And so everybody brought their cell phone camera, and I was like, not a photography class, but as you notice something, I just want you to take a picture of it. And so this list was things like look for shadow, look for texture, look for detail, look up, look down, look right, like all of
Mm-hmm.
those types of things. And of course, a botanical garden in the spring is a great place to practice noticing for sure. And so I just let everybody loose for a while and then came back and they picked a photo and then we did some journaling around, what do I think drew me to this image? What do I think this is trying to tell me? Some of those types of things. But and I had several friends that was like, "Oh my goodness, we don't live in North Carolina. We wish that we could do this class." And I said, "Well, it's pretty much just the way I live my life. So if we ever hang out, you're going to see it because if you walk anywhere with me, you need to be ready to stop because I will, in a city, it's going to be architecture, shadows. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
I'm always looking at shadows. I know you're a color person, probably, right,
Mm-hmm.
Heather?
Yeah.
Yeah. But those things of just the pause, I mean, a lot of it is a practice of not being in a hurry. Some of it is a practice of recognizing that there's a lot of other things on this planet other than just me, myself, and I. But it's also become a way that I kind of learn to connect the dots with some things too, right? Like I'll notice something, I was like, wait, that reminds me of something I saw someplace else. And you know about me that I love to travel as well. And so it's always fun to notice something in one part of the world and then how that compares or contrasts to something I've seen in another part of the world. It's just kind of how I live.
I love that. And you're also making me think that exercise in a bigger way is therapeutic in a lot of ways too. And I think a lot of times, like what you said about noticing something and then journaling about what made you notice it or that drew you to it. One of the things in your bio was about uncovering the message that's already there. And I think when we do exercises like that, it helps us cement an idea, a thought, a belief, or even an intuitive message that's already there that maybe we hadn't yet paid attention to or hadn't noticed. There's something really beautiful about that exercise. And I love the way that you help brands, you help people, you're a messaging strategist, but I think more so you're helping somebody's like learn to see themselves in a different way and just sort of own a truth about who they are and what they can offer the world. And that's really powerful.
Which is very much what you do with your work as well, right? And I think that's probably one of the reasons that even in less than 3 minutes, you and I connected with each other because at the heart of this, we're both noticers.
Yeah,
We saw that in each other really, really.
really fast.
And ultimately, that's what I believe about messaging and marketing is that when you are putting out there the truth of what you are, that when people who most need that see that, they recognize it and want to act on it quick.
Absolutely. This is awesome. I loved this conversation with you, Beth. Can you tell the listeners where they can find you online and how they can work with you?
Absolutely. So the name of my company is Keys to Your Brand. My website is keystoyourbrand.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn under Beth Builds Brands. I love having conversations with people about these kinds of things, and I would love to connect with folks there. The information about message therapy sessions is on that website as well.
Awesome. And listeners, if you are feeling stuck on your messaging or you're just trying to kind of pull a truth or something out, I can 10 out of 10 recommend a message therapy session with Beth. I loved mine. And like I said, there are words that I still connect to when I'm thinking about what I want to put out into the world. And I'm so glad that I met you in our little 3-minute mini date. And I'm happy that I got to work with you and chat with you today.
Absolutely. I have enjoyed it as well. Just keep being amazing. That's what the world needs.
I love it. I'll put all this info in the show notes so people can connect with you and you can help them own their amazingness.
Thank you for joining me today on Your Radiant Spirit. Every conversation here is an invitation to go beyond the surface, to listen to what your soul has been whispering, and to step into the life you've been longing for. If you're ready to go deeper, to work in a way that's personal, creative, and profoundly transformative, you'll find ways to connect with me in the show notes. Whether it's through art, a guided session, or a fully immersive journey, you'll discover a space where your truth is seen and your next chapter begins. If this episode spoke to you, it would mean the world if you shared it with a friend, left a review, or subscribed so more people can discover the conversations we have here. Until next time, my friend, keep noticing the colors, the moments, and the nudges. They're all leading you home. And for now, take a breath, hold on to what resonated, and carry it with you into the rest of your day. Thanks for listening.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.